I'll settle for my little replica Oldsmobile.
I think that's pretty sweet too. Okay. Call the select board meeting of August the 7th to order. It's 5:35. First order of business is I would entertain a motion to accept the July 17th public hearing minutes, the July 17th select board minutes, the July 22nd emergency meeting, and the July 27th special select board meeting. So move. Is there a second? Okay.
Did Chico change his name between the public hearing and the minute meeting we had? On my minutes, his name changed.
Oh,
That should be Mr. Estridge.
Pushy on the first one.
Yeah, I see that. Okay. See that, Karen? Changes.
I'm good.
Hearing none, all in favor, say aye. Ayes have it. Next item are the select board orders or accounts payable through today, August the 7th.
I move we accept the orders to August 7th.
Thank you, Clyde. Is there a second?
Second.
Thank you, Tom. Any discussion?
I'll just point out that we're paying 3 corners invoices as part of those orders. We really need to get kind of a budget together, figure out where we are on that project.
I get your email. I'm still working on getting it together. I'll get you something.
Yeah, I think that would be good. Very good.
Yep.
Martin, there's numerous items in here with D&D and Ferguson. And, do you have a sense of what costs we're incurring before we submit anything to FEMA for the?
We're close to $50,000 at this point. I got the Twin State bill today for about $38,000. Richard Sargent for $6,600, Peeler for $1,300. So we're close. The culverts were $12,000. So we're between $50,000 and $55,000 so far. We haven't paid Twin State, so we haven't paid the $38,000 yet. But
Okay,
that's where we're at.
and does that include our labor? No,
Does not.
is our labor redeemable?
Yes. Yep, it sure is. The only issue with FEMA is they've said our event counts, but they haven't really said it counts
Okay.
from the original event. The original event was July
17th.
Yeah. And ours was the 21st, and they said they're hoping to work it in. It has not been set in stone that this is, when I went to the meeting last Tuesday, they did not say this was part of that yet.
Ooh.
But in light of what happened over the weekend in Middlebury and Rutland,
Yeah.
they're gonna have to extend.
Yeah. And St. Johnsbury looks like they're going to get hit tomorrow. The storm looks like it's going to head that way.
And can I ask on a future agenda item, to this day, I don't understand the relationship of the town and the Martinsville Hydro. Because we have bills here for $1,500 or so, and I just thought, so maybe someday you can awaken me.
Sure.
So,
I'd be interested in understanding that as well.
Okay.
They're pretty pricey.
Well, it depends the time of the year. So this time of the year.
All goes into what I'm asking.
Yeah,
It's-
yep,
it's a-
yep,
it's a-
absolutely.
So you just
Can't ask for any more water.
you want the list of buildings that are needed for markets.
Yes, and also I just don't understand like the
The
swing in
flows.
the monies.
The flows, yep.
That part.
Yep.
And what our relationship is with them. Is it, oh, we have like a 25-year contract?
We got
with
a
them?
contract. We do. I don't know when it expires. I think it's coming up, so. I will get hold of Mr. Boeri and get the history on that.
Do you expect that the costs that we paid for the Windsor County Sheriff for the coverage in June and early July, do you expect that would be roughly the same amount that we'll do in September?
Yep, exact same. Should be the exact same.
Okay. And my last question, I'm sorry to dominate here, I'm sure others may have questions. Mr. O'Toole on the tax sale, is that?
So Mr. Valley brought a check to the town for that figure,
Okay,
made out to the town. Mr. O'Toole's bank won't cash a third-party check. So I'm depositing Mr. Valley's check and sending a check to Mr. O'Toole, who in turn will send me what's due for the delinquent taxes and keep his portion.
okay,
So that's just a,
so that's a wash.
yeah, it's just a back and forth.
Thank you. Clyde, any questions?
No, it's not.
Okay, Bill, Tom? Okay, all in favor of accepting the invoices up to 8/7? Say aye. Aye. Motion passes. Are there any adjustments to the agenda?
None that I'm aware
Hearing none, let's go on to old business.
Well, I do have a question. Under new business, it says Four Corners Children's Center lease, and the one I got sent for the nursery school.
Four Corners Children's Center lease.
That's not the cooperative nursery school, is the lease that I got.
It's in the contract. Let's just say the contract here.
Is it both of them?
Well, Hartland Co-op Nursery School, wait a minute. I didn't catch that. No, that's not.
Good catch, Clyde. Sorry. Yep. All right. We'll have to add this to the next one. I'm sorry.
Good catch.
Thank you, Clyde.
I read this whole thing today, saying,
Thank you, Clyde. Sorry about that.
okay.
That's adjustments.
Moving on then to the first item, Cowdrey Salvage Yard.
You can just call for public comments.
Thank you. Are there any public comments?
Anybody online?
No, I got no hands up.
Okay. Take 3, Cowdrey Salvage Yard. What I'd like to do this evening is reopen the discussion. What was the technical?
It's actually a continuation of the public hearing.
Thank you. I have some background information that I checked out. There's a clear distinction, as we all know, should we go forward with the coal and the state goes forward with their part of the coal. We then come into a division of who's in charge. Again, hypothetically, when we go forward and we have the site map and agree, I'm just going to say what's inside the fence. We'll define that in a moment. that is really the town's responsibility going forward. Should the site map call for subtleties like you're storing tires in one area, and the state, who will be checking and can check, but the jurisdiction is ours, they can enforce that things aren't in the site as pre-described and agreed to when we have the site plan. The fencing, the words that are used in the various legal documents are the area needs to be screened. So I think one of the discussion points that we're going to have is, what does screen mean, and what requirements are we going to sort of implement here for that. What was also a little vague for me is there's been a legal ruling that you're under right now. One of the options in the legal ruling is to have the coal or to remove all the vehicles. So what we're investigating right now is going the coal route. But what was made clear to me that once we agreed to the site map and the dimensions, that any junk vehicle on the property needs to be inside that area. So the court jurisdiction, court ruling will continue to say you need to clean up anything that's not in that area, which I think makes sense. And that we, going forward, and I would suggest that we put this in coal, that the town has the right to inspect the property, and I think it would be showing a courtesy. We would sort of say in 2 days we're going to come by to check it or something like that, as opposed to the state. As I understand it, the state will continue to check whatever they are checking with the other aspects of the used car and so on and so forth. Just quickly glance at my notes to make sure I have everything. I think those are the major items that I had researched and talked with the state about. So we've had no feedback on the 2021 coal from neither David nor Alan. So Jim created a draft document based on that 2021 document. So I think we should have a discussion on some of those items. And then I'm also, once we feel we have a draft, and I want to have a legal opinion, have our lawyers make sure, which we did last time as well. Jim, would you feel comfortable stepping through what you were suggesting for changes?
Well, yeah, I'm not sure that I'm going to suggest a lot of changes. I think there are changes that we need to this, or there's things that have to be reworked.
Yeah.
Because 2 years have elapsed and then we're now in a different situation. So part of that is just updating the document to show what's been done recently. Like the site, the application was filed on the 21st, right? The, certified mail that went out on the 6th needs to be in there. The 17th visit and hearing needs to be in there. So I started that work to get those items in. The next piece is really around, from the 2021 agreement to today, what's different? What do we need to change? What do we need to reword?
Yeah, and I also started doing the same thing.
So the things that I highlighted in red, the things that I think we really need to focus on that, you know, are probably different than the other 2 years.
All right, okay. Dave and Ellen, when Martin gave us an original handout, we had these sort of looking documents as a site map. Are you comfortable with that? You want to take a quick look? With just different versions of it. So we can,
No, maybe off just a little bit.
okay.
But it's close.
And this is yet another, it should be the same, but I don't know.
So that has the sketch of the area that you want to put the salvage yard in.
This one.
That one, correct.
Okay, so this is the one we really would want to go off of.
But this is over here.
Yeah, it's off. It's off
This is gonna come
a
this
little
way.
bit. And this is down too far.
Yeah, that's down a little.
It's gonna come up just a little bit.
Yeah, this goes up and over here.
Okay, Morgan, we need to get those points. How do you think we might best?
Because this is really like square to the paper, but the area would be
Kind of more
Right.
parallel to the driveway.
right. And this point here would be more
You just mark
up a
that
little
up
bit further.
and then redo it.
So that building has changed from the picture to that, because the building now is horizontal, not vertical, goes with the driveway. So this building here is going this way now, isn't it? Because we were behind that building when you want to put starting point back behind that building, correct?
No, oh, this,
Point here, you want off over here.
Yeah, this here would go over here. This here would be moved over to here.
Now, we stood by the building by the driveway, not way over here.
this building, okay, this is an older photo,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Okay, so this building here is
Has been
now,
moved.
right,
Now
it's over
over-
here, and that's
over
where we
here.
stood, where you said you wanted this corner.
right, but
Right.
there's
But
a
it's
couple
gotta be-
buildings.
It's gotta be turned,
Okay,
because this,
so you want this at the first bus, not the third bus,
right here, comes right here.
between the first 2 buses?
Yeah, that point
Right
right there.
here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's where it was all water and I said, "No, I'm not trekking through there.
And where's this point?
This point would be more like right in there.
Where this white, right here?
Yeah, right in that area. Cause it was
Well,
like right at the corner of this building
Yes.
because this building was moved over here.
which would also move this line up a little bit here, because it turns it just a little bit.
Okay.
Okay,
And,
yep, I'll redraw that.
the dimension's still the,
150 by 75.
yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
So then what we would then do is take off like 150 here and then 75 from here from these new points.
Yeah.
Yeah.
75.
But you want it sort of to be more of a parallelogram than a
Well,
Yeah, if
rectangle?
you look at any of the property lines, nothing's,
Well, but it's just, we only have 2 points to make it a parallel. We need to sort of have
Right,
another,
but from this point
so if we
here
went from here to
to here,
here,
and then it goes exactly
and then we just go 50 feet from here, from this line.
well,
Right.
75 feet.
75.
75, I mean.
Yes.
Yeah,
Right.
but it
Well-
stays square.
150 from this point to
Yes, to there.
somewhere in this
So,
area.
right,
And then
Right.
75 feet this
Right.
way.
But when you move this, it sends this up here and this up here.
right.
And that would give access on the backside to get around and do maintenance or whatever.
So,
So that point right there.
yeah, that's a
come
bottom
over
point,
75 feet.
75 there,
Yep, go up
And then-
150.
and then go-
from there over. Yep,
yeah.
okay. I'll have John help me with that.
Let's,
Um,
so, what I, So then, all this other stuff in here is under the jurisdiction of the Agency of Transportation.
Oh, that's correct. What Tom is pointing out is
Right.
the area that would be in front of the screen.
So everything that is not within what we just drew, all this stuff here is going to be under the jurisdiction of the Agency of Transportation.
Correct, but anything that would be considered junk must be inside that.
Right,
I get that.
Okay.
So you understand that.
yeah, as long as everything right there is the area is, a lot of this other stuff ain't here in this picture.
Okay.
So I think I would appreciate hearing everyone's thoughts on this, but my feeling is we need to update the site map. Get back to the agreement. Jim has launched it. I have my own notes. Get a working agreement. If we need to, possibly circulate it amongst ourselves, and then have our legal review of it. And then based on that, we need a final vote as to what we're going to do.
Do we need a working session to go through the document, or?
I think we do. One of the reasons I asked Tom, technically, if we end our public session, then we have 30 days to do it. It may not make you guys happy, but that may give us a window where on the August 14th meeting, we can actually.
So that, I don't, I know I've read this, but I don't remember the text. Is it 30 days?
From the end of the public
From the
meeting.
close of the public hearing.
It definitely says that.
Yes. Yep.
So, but before we just, so according to the statute, though, they have to be 100 feet from Route 12.
Yeah.
And according to this map, you're not. So we can't give you a permit knowing that we're in violation. And I don't know how many feet it is. So I'm just
Does it
wondering.
say on that?
You know that it isn't, but you don't know how many it is.
Well, what I'm reading, and it was in the previous document, it said you were not 100 feet.
No, but we're not, that boundary's been moved way back.
Okay, so you're with, I just want to make it clear. So
No,
you're 100 feet from,
I think
you're
the other
100 feet
was
from
like-
Route 12.
I think the other one was 90 feet or something, but we were way down the bank, way down by my house.
So I guess my question would be, are you willing to adjust the front line so that you're 100 feet away?
Oh, definitely.
yeah.
definitely.
Okay, that's all I'm asking.
Yeah,
And then I guess to me, for my own comfort, and you said that your neighbors don't care, but if we get something in writing from your neighbors saying that they release you from those setbacks from their water wells, that would certainly be helpful to us. You're supposed to be 300 feet according to the old statute.
But is that a state requirement? Can they-
And 22 something.
I think that's also something the state would, that's one of the requirements that they would go through.
Okay. I'm trying to keep you from going through too much hell. I don't want you to go through hell from us, and then after you get done with us, you got to go through hell with V-Trans. So if we can try to meet the statute doing this, that way it's one less hurdle you're going to have to jump through after. That's what I'm bringing this up.
Yeah, good point. I think it would be an agreement that we're trying to do it right the first time.
So
On those maps, Phil, does it show the yellow line? Does it show?
yeah, it does. One of them, they're not. And I think, Alan, you had said one of them they don't even use anymore. I remember on a site visit, you talked about these wells. Remember, we walked around.
There's more than one well, right?
Yeah, there's
The Barrows well was less than 3.
Barrows is 250 feet.
But if they're on site wells, those.
Hill is 266, 366. So it's just Barrows.
But aren't there also on site wells on the property?
Right, but it said that if it serves the salvage yard,
So,
that's exempt.
or is there any lodging that has a well on the property?
This house.
I can't find the well piece. Okay.
Okay. Then the other thing we haven't discussed, but Phil brought it up, is what do you think you're using for screening? Are you gonna, screening, so you have to screen the fence. What are you gonna use? Because we'll put it in our permit.
What kind of a fence we gonna have? I mean, now, the gate, what kind of a gate are you talking? We gotta have a gate, does that be like,
Well, generally, most of these are page fences. They're expensive.
Brownie uses car hauler.
What's he use?
Car hauler.
Hodgkins is all screened, see-through metal fence?
And we have,
Yeah, you can use see-through metal fence, but then they want it screened from Route 12.
So,
we have metal siding.
You can't see it.
We have a whole bunch of metal siding.
Dave, we stood in the corner when we did the sidewalk and we looked at Route 12. So we do have to screen that area that would be run parallel to the driveway toward the garage on that part. I think there'll be a robust conversation amongst ourselves whether or not we are asking 4 sides to be fenced with and self fencing, or do we have more or less a chain link fence with some sort of cover, canvas cover, just on that driveway side, and vegetation screening the other sides?
Well, that would make sense, that section there where you said you could see, but everything else.
Right. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, thanks, Tom, for making sure there, because that's ultimately going into this document that we create. And so to go back to your question, have you been thinking about that at all? And then, what kind of thoughts do you have for what type of fencing you would do?
Well, it depends on if it's got to be completely solid, it can be.
It doesn't have to be a solid fence. But it has to show clearly the area in which you're gonna be putting the vehicles. So you can't have like a 2-sided fence and then 2 sides are wide open. That's not gonna work. But,
Some of
you could sheet metal with posts, whatever you
Yeah,
want.
we have sheet metal and
Sheet
posts.
metal posts would be probably what it is, because like
Well,
I'd start on the corner, I got a bunch of, you probably couldn't see it, there's so much crap grown up, but there's a bunch of light poles there. So the main corners, I would install light poles, so the corners would be rugged enough, to build a fence.
so you're saying telephone poles, you have telephone
Yeah.
poles?
Yeah,
I think, again, that's something we need to discuss and sort of come up with. And I would hope you'd be thinking the same. I would hope that the side that you would, the small segment that you do see from Route 12 would be aesthetically pleasing, that we're
well,
not
yeah,
just
that
following-
part, would, yeah.
Okay.
It would probably be, some metal fencing painted,
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, anything else at this time?
Not for the hearing portion.
We certainly have some work to do, and we'll keep you abreast of whenever any questions, and I don't know if Martin will need to get on the property just to check the points, but that may be something
I'll be in touch.
we'll ask to do.
Mhm.
Okay, any questions from Dave, yourself, or Alan?
At this point, we can kind of start working toward this,
Yeah,
getting stuff into that area, organizing it and getting rid of stuff on the outside.
yeah. I mean, until this is approved by the state, you're still under that court order of so many cars per month, I guess it is.
Yeah.
Yeah,
But we can start focusing our efforts on this plan.
yeah. I would say I'm comfortable with that, and if something changes, then you're back to the court order.
We got rid of 2 cars last week and a load of tires.
And I understand you need to keep receipts and all that sort of stuff, so that when the state checks.
I loaded the truck full of tires on the weekend, let it rain, filled them full of water, and I had to pay.
Well, fewer mosquitoes around the house.
You drive on the scales and pay by the pound. So I had to pay for a lot of water.
Okay,
So if you could stake out where you want it before Martin goes up there or whatever, it would be really helpful if you work with us here.
Yeah.
And so start staking out if you wanted to do a small corner with what kind of fencing you'd like to use, and let Martin take a look at it so he has some idea of what you're thinking of doing. That would be helpful.
Yeah, you come back up and show us how far.
Otherwise, we're going to tell you.
How far, how high fencing you talking now?
I don't think it's stipulated. What the language said to so that you can't see from a certain area. And it gets now, so we don't need to worry about it. But if you started piling up,
No, it's not gonna be no.
then it was above the fence, then you better build a 40-foot fence.
I did less than 4.
We've never dismantled cars all over the place.
Yeah.
That's not what we've done.
Okay.
And we're not gonna start now.
Okay, well, thank you for coming in. I'm sorry you had the time wrong,
That's okay.
but I appreciate it, and Martin will be back in touch. But we'll be hoping to have you back on the next agenda in 2 weeks.
Yep.
Okay,
So I make a motion, we close the public hearing
Second.
at 6:07.
all in favor of the motion, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Okay, thank you. Okay. Let's quickly go through your Mr. Peck. right?
Yes, I'm with the skip and go to him.
Are people comfortable skipping to the VHB engineer? Yes, okay, good. Dan? So the item, topic is a discussion with Mr. Peck on the VHB engineering.
We'll have you state your name.
Sure, Daniel Peck, VHB.
Thank you. Mr. Peck, I don't think you really know any of this, which.
I don't think I do. I think the last time I was here, it was on the select board.
Yeah. I just wanted to have a couple of background questions that help us doing that. Who are you professionally? What is what brings you to this project?
Yes, I'm the project manager for VHB. We were the design consultants hired by the town. Originally before it was had any state funding or federal funding. We were hired by the town to do the intersection project. So we are the design consultants for this project.
Okay, good, good. And how long have you been working with VHB?
23 years.
Great. Okay. And I assume you've done a lot of projects of this type over that period.
Yes, I've done a number of intersection projects
Right.
and sidewalk projects. Yeah.
Have you been project manager at that time, or is that something you could?
Yes,
Okay.
I currently manage about 15 projects.
Good, good. Something that I cannot answer. How long has this project been on the books?
I am the second project manager on it. I can tell you that. I think it's been around since 2016 or 2017.
Okay,
Around the 2020, 2019, late 2019, early 2020, this town applied for a bike and ped grant from FHWA through the V-Trans Municipal Assistance Services Department, and they were awarded that grant, and that sort of triggered a bunch of other FHWA environmental regulations.
Mhm, mhm. And you're aware that the consideration of burying of the utilities and the bond vote then happened in
August of 2020, I believe.
right, and
Yes.
were you involved with, or was it just the utilities that were then involved with the burying?
No, I was working closely with Dave Ormiston. So we had met with all of the utility companies that currently have lines on the poles at the
Yeah.
intersection. We requested that they provide two options, one for relocating some of the overhead utilities to accommodate the new sidewalk, and then an alternative to bury all the utilities at the intersection.
Okay, great. And your plans that you presented, the final plans reflect those, the burial.
Yes, so,
Yeah.
correct. We had been informed by Dave, I think early in September, that the town had passed the vote. So since that point, we had incorporated the burial in our contract documents.
Okay. And another just clarification, we have two engineering firms that are involved at this point. Is it GPI, I always say VPI, and VHB, who you are. Can you help us understand what those two distinct roles are,
Sure.
or what's your role right now?
Yeah, so VHB, we are the design consultants, so we're responsible through essentially the phase A, which is the project definition phase, all the way through essentially project construction advertisement. So Greenman Peterson Incorporated GPI, they are the construction inspection services engineers. So we're both firms are pre-qualified as part of the V-Trans Municipal Assistance Bureau's list of, municipal private consultants. So GPI was selected to do the construction inspection services. So their sole responsibility is to make sure that the contractor is adhering to the contract documents, all the permitting requirements per the documents.
Good.
I also want to preface, also you have Rita Cito through the Three Rivers.
Two
Rivers Regional Planning Commission. So she's the town's project manager. So she's overseeing all of us, and her responsibilities to ensure once the town received the bike ped grant, essentially her job is to ensure that money is used responsibly.
Right.
Can I ask a dumb question?
Sure.
Why two engineering firms? Does your firm not do the construction?
We do. It's frowned upon and not allowed by V-Trans, and they ask to do.
So separation.
Correct.
Right.
The design engineers generally can't do the construction.
V-Trans doesn't allow
Yeah, I think GPI is more of a construction management on
it.
the site.
That's
kind
their
of-
primary bread and butter.
Yeah, but again, we use these words pretty loosely, so I'm doing that. If I could ask you to sort of step back and how would you answer the question, where are we today and how are we doing?
We're within the construction, right in the middle of it. It sounds like construction is going as expected. I've understood there's been a couple of hiccups moving forward, but GPI, their resident inspector, has worked with Rita and they contacted me as necessary to sort of support any outstanding items. But as far as I understand, the construction is on schedule, anticipated to be complete.
Can I go back to the design phase? Or do you?
Well, for one moment, what Mr. Peck, what we want to do tonight is just hear you, you know, meet you, but also to, we do have some concerns. There's no question about it. And those concerns impact us because they are dollars.
Absolutely.
And I think we'll step through those, and Tom could be alluding to his design piece, maybe on a bit on that part. I'm also want you to realize that you're talking to a board that we are not construction engineers, but we have a lot of experience here. Two of us with in the world of large-scale projects for IT. We have a regional planner from another region, and Clyde has been watching this project from the get-go. Wearing another hat as town clerk, but we are aware of that. So I say that because we understand change orders and the minor hiccups. For example, you know, we discovered that where the curbing would go near the corner, we call it the Dunn property. It is not Dunn's property. You couldn't open the car door because it was going to be hitting the porch or something. I'm not sure what the detail was. Okay. We'll take care of that. Right. You know, the increase of substructure on the sidewalk by Mascoma. I don't really know why that is, but I have to yield to all the engineers involved to say you have the experience. But I'm going to come around down to three things, but I'm going to pause and let my colleagues sort of ask any questions.
Okay. So as you stated, we're a new board, new eyes, looking at a project. I guess in your experience in designing intersections, where there's a four-way stop, how many of those projects have you designed where there's no lighting?
I haven't done many
In a village?
all-way stops, to be honest with you. It's pretty rare.
I think my point is, I think it's, and I've worked on a lot of these at NPM, like Rita is done. I can't understand why there is no lighting in the design when we're taking down all the lighting because we're burying the power. And being a small town, my wife was a former select board person. I asked her today, how much did you discuss about lighting and not wanting to have lighting in the previous board? They never discussed it. And they assumed there was going to be a lighting plan with it. And so now we have a project and we all know how expensive it is to get poles, and it's gonna have to be historically in conformance with this building and other things due to section 106 and the like. I can't understand why VHB didn't bring that up, even bring it up to the board, in that it's not part of it. So now we have a project, and I would say rough estimate is probably going to cost us an additional $100,000.
I would say that's a little high, but
we're going to have to start over again next season. So that's going to add additional cost. It's not part of the present construction.
from what I understand, Knox is currently working on a change order to install a lot of the conduit that would be able to accommodate future lighting that would be installed as well.
And I'll bring that to your attention that I made that request with Martin at a construction meeting 5 to 6 weeks ago, and nothing was done. Nothing was done. And now we have document that I just got Friday by coming down that apparently you were consulted with on the walkthrough
I was here on.
Tuesday of last week.
That's Tuesday, correct.
Right. I would have been here, but I was out of town. Mr. Saladino, who I think you know,
Yes, he's my boss.
offered a series of excuses today, and I tried calling him 4 times this afternoon. This didn't come in until close to 4 o'clock.
I'm aware.
By all indication, everything that you're laying out here through Mr. Saladino happened after we made the request to read it. We have no knowledge of you reaching a decision with Two Rivers, VTrans. And we sat with VTrans and they seemed pretty appalled. There were no lights. And Mr. Saladino said, don't go down that road. I won't. They're not here. So I'm gonna, again, I'm upset, and I'm going to not be upset and let my peers continue this discussion. The other 2 points, just to broaden it. The core drillings did not indicate, because they were apparently, for another reason, that there was concrete under Route 5. We have been told, and Martin can verify this, that we're incurring $25,000 extra because there is concrete under Route 5. And of course, as you know, the plans required to be passed by the state, plans require trees. Yeah.
Correct.
We can't grow trees on a few inches of topsoil. Why was that not identified? I mean, people know that concrete was laid underneath state roads, which is actually a US road. And my final thing, and then I will truly keep quiet, is
Don't make commitments you can't.
he's going to kick me. The drainage. I am not an engineer, but our resident construction manager, on-site engineer, basically said, you guys are going to have puddles here. And when you go out and look at the slope, there were puddles there before. And as I understand, we're maybe making a last minute change to some sidewalk pitches. But I just find it sad that we're with all your experience, that we're still not dealing with the drainage.
Point of clarification, right? The part that you're concerned about is the parking in front of Damon Hall. There's no drain there.
Yeah.
And then the parking in front of where the statue would have been prior.
The sidewalk, so the sidewalk would have pooled, the new to the old would have pooled.
So I guess there's 4 spots in front of that Dunn's property. Right, is that, do you have a?
I'm not sure about there. I just knew the sidewalk, the curb to the sidewalk, the new sidewalk to the old sidewalk was gonna pool in front of Damon Hall. Yep. So the Queechee Road, the curb of Queechee Road, there's that new sidewalk they're putting in to the sidewalk coming off of Damon Hall out front.
So in both those spots, you have the area that's got curving that boxes it in. And then-
Well, the sidewalk was gonna go like this. Yep.
Where, I'm sorry, where specifically are you referring to? Like,
If I've got this right, Mark.
Yep.
So you have here's curving that creates a box. You get curving, that creates another box. So if the water fills in, the crown of the road is gonna tip towards the edges, right?
I mean, the parking lot is pitched back towards the road.
So then where does it drain?
It's gonna go like.
It's going up Queechee, it's going up Queechee.
And it's gonna come in here.
So the parking lot is going uphill.
Yes, I'm just gonna go this way, because Gucci Road was, but the sidewalk, the road was gonna pull. The old sidewalk and the new sidewalk.
And I had conversations with Everett, and we fixed that.
we're just gonna show this displeasure.
So was your concern around the sidewalk itself in front of anyone?
Yeah, said that.
Okay.
Yeah, and I understand that, and Mr.
Everett.
Beckman correctly here, but I think that was on the walk last Tuesday, there was a discussion of that.
We had a discussion about it, and the very next day I submitted a revised grading plan
Okay.
for that corner.
So what about, sorry, if you guys can't see what I'm doing.
Okay.
What about, this is parking here, you know?
Yes, it
What are
is.
they doing?
For the
What about this area?
It's,
Is that,
it should be
I
all,
didn't know there was
pushed back?
there
an
is a
issue over
grade.
What are you
there.
doing with the map done?
So the water.
Oh, yeah, that, so what they did was they shifted it.
Well, there's an existing.
They shifted everything, this is the parking, right, so half, they took like half apartments, they just shifted it.
Yeah, pretty rigid.
Yeah.
There is a grade.
Thank you for that.
So you're hearing our displeasure
I do hear it.
very clearly.
Yeah.
And I've known David for a long, long time, and I think he deserves to call our chair. And you folks need to figure out how we can resolve these issues. And we feel that it should not be solely on the taxpayers in the town of Hartland. But we're not gonna go any further than that.
The issue that we have, I mean, it sounds like a sidewalk pitch.
Mhm.
Is my
That's resolved.
understanding. Are you guys
That's
taking
resolved.
care of that?
What I
Yeah.
can't understand is where we had to plant trees,
Yeah,
why you didn't do a single boring
Yeah.
where we're gonna plant some trees, and you just,
We did 4 borings at the intersection. One of them was right in the middle of the island. So,
But again, that's not the road.
correct.
That's not
Because
what's costing us
we were
$25,000.
indicating,
Right,
the primary concern was
right,
the deep excavation for the conduit.
correct,
So the sole purpose of the boring was to look for ledge.
right, right. Whether you needed borings, my contention is why did you even need borings when your experience would have said, hey, state highway, you know, what's underneath it? You can just drive up Route 5. Well, it's been recently paved. Anyway, Clyde, any questions? Any thoughts?
Well, I was here as town clerk at a meeting, and it was pointed out there was cement under the Route 5.
Yeah.
And somebody, whoever, I don't think you were the engineer at the time, might have been somebody else. And he said, what cement? Well, I would think somebody would have gone to the state highway department and looked up plans for Route 5 to see what it was made of. And it was put in the 1930-31 era. So all the way from where Route 5 starts through here, it was cemented. So, in fact, the bridge in Windsor that crosses Mill Brook has right on there, 1931, when the bridge was put in.
so when can we expect a lighting plan and some idea as far as what we will need?
Our landscape architects are working on it right now. I would expect to have something by the end of the week.
Thank you.
But the big thing in my mind is cost, right? And you guys will figure it out, I guess. But for us to pay for concrete removal, just seems like we shouldn't be doing that. The lighting thing, you know, there's probably some give and take there. But the sidewalk and what you guys are just fixing. For the concrete, it's just a swing on this.
In your opinion, it is a mess, I agree with you.
I did not see that
I
at all in
just-
Express last night.
Sat in a meeting with the construction folks, and they're all looking at one another saying, how come the plans don't have concrete? You know, what do we do with it now that it's here? And, oh, Hartland, it's $25,000. So if it wasn't 25, it was, you know, just a few hundred, a few thousand. But, and again, I go back to my comment that we have multiple change orders We're smart enough to know that that's inevitable.
Do we need the lawyers to look at the contract to see what kind of votes we might have?
I hope not.
Hope no, we don't need it.
And I expressed that to David, that I had actually was trying to avoid this tonight. But when I saw that summary, here I am. Okay.
Is there an alternative to digging up the concrete in light of finding the concrete and still meet sort of
I would have to
the
discuss
spirit
yeah.
of the landscaping plan?
I would have to discuss the landscape architect, but so the requirement was we had to put 2 feet of like clean landscape backfill to sort of promote tree growth. So potentially there is an opportunity that we could elevate, raise, throw an additional material.
That's what I was thinking.
Yeah,
Almost like boxes of sorts.
correct.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because a number of the trees aren't in the roadway. There's patches. Maybe it's not a complete removal of the concrete. It's just a large section of it.
Yeah.
And it's something that's gonna have to get looked at sooner versus later, because they're hoping to throw the base coat down Thursday
The base coat.
of paving.
Oh, but yeah, where the concrete is,
Okay,
yeah, that's
Sure.
far down.
thank you.
Going back to the lighting. We've had people ask us to look at solar lighting. We're talking about trees and solar lighting doesn't
Not a
seem to
good
go
mix.
together. I recently was downtown Redwood Junction and they're going through a whole new sort of lighting structure. So my question is, will you be giving us options for the type of lighting that's there?
Yeah, and this came up at our call with, so GMP was also in the room on Tuesday with Rita, GPI and myself. So there has been conversations about GMP is providing some potential alternatives for ornamental style streetlights that they've installed in other villages.
Yep, okay.
So we will certainly supplement that. We'll look at their list and make sure it's appropriate, but we'll provide some recommendations as well.
Yeah, and I counted 7 or 8 lights.
I hate this. Let's do something just to sound like a jerk. But are we paying for all these recommendations? Or are you guys doing this to get the project back on track?
We're doing it.
Okay. Any questions for us?
No, I'm strictly here to answer any questions you have.
Okay.
I understand. Yeah, I appreciate your frustration at the moment, and I'll just gonna do our best to help resolve it as best we can.
Okay, that's all we can ask.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks for taking the heat. Till David next time, he's got to show up.
Now that he's down, I used to be on the other side of the table.
I've been there.
How come we're close to?
So, things are moving really, really quickly, and
Yeah,
for them to be able to come over the budget, we're gonna need to know what fixtures we like and don't like.
So I want to make sure I was
Yeah,
told you this, I
understand
don't know. This was given to me Friday morning by Everett Hammond, our field engineer. And the
correct.
brilliant idea that they had, and the state has approved it before any permitting happens, is that we are going to lay conduit in these areas where there's some color. The conduit is going to be either 3 or 5 inches, whatever the spec is calling for, and will have pull string in it. And it is thought that this would cover the areas where the lights should go.
So no digging later on. Just
Correct. So there will not be any.
That's what I've been harping on them very hard for.
Yeah.
So I'll tell you, for the last 6 weeks, that I don't want to dig this up next year. We want it now.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
already
I
dug
should
up.
let You be the fall guy tonight. But I think it's a very simple solution. And there's still going to be some digging and you know, couplings to sort of cut in and so on and so forth. But
That's one thing I probably should ask when it's here is the proverbial sinkhole that's been in front of David Hall for the last 50, 60 years going to disappear when they,
I believe it is because the sidewalk's gonna be where that sinkhole is. Because the sidewalk where it is now is coming out
towards,
towards the center of Queechee Road.
You're talking about those little parking spot up here.
oh, this,
The-
right out front here. There's been a
Right where the stop
problem
sign
there
is.
for a long time.
That's where you get to almost fall on your butt if you want to go in and see somebody in the town hall, so prevents people from wanting to come here in the winter.
There you go, exactly. We throw a little extra water out there.
and we are taking care of the extending the concrete work a little bit on the side path and a little bit on in front of Damon Hall to take care of the broken concrete now. So
Yes.
since
Oh, great.
Since we're at it, we're
Can I see?
should we just stay with the intersection? Is there any other points?
I can do the change orders now, or I can do them at the town.
Maybe, I know Stacy's here, maybe we should just call.
Yeah,
her and
yep,
set
yep,
up the
yep.
agenda. Okay. Then, Martin, you're on for the next item, update on the,
So the architects, he apologizes for how long it's taken. He didn't think it would take this long, but a lot of the pieces for the buildings he had troubles finding. He's now back on track. He has completed the architectural scope drawings. He's reached out to a cost estimator to estimate the project. Once Kevin is done, he'll send the documents to the estimator. He was looking to Bill to find the septic designs for Damon Hall and the rec center, which he has. And he was going to get hold of Mr. Bumps with V-Trans about some culverts under the rec to know where the water's going and the culverts out back here, because there's 2 manhole covers out here. I believe one's sewer, but one's another culvert. So he hopes to deliver a cost and a review within the next couple of weeks. So he apologizes. Everything's taken him longer than he has anticipated it to take, but he's got his arms around it and he's closing it in. So we'll have answers here pretty quick.
you know, we're doing this with a set fee, or is it
I think it's time and materials. I don't know. I think I don't know. I can't find the RFQ. I asked him for a copy of it and he hasn't sent it to me with it back. I don't know what David set up. I tried finding the RFQ. I asked him to send me the RFQ, and so I've been through the office a couple of times and can't find it. So I gotta look again, see where he may have filed it.
So are they talking new septic for here?
No, he just wants the design and how it works
The one that's
behind the White House. Yes, yep.
We're not necessarily interested in the RFQ, we're interested in his contract.
I don't know.
So why don't you ask him if he has a contract?
Contract, okay. I will ask that, because I don't remember.
I hate to ask that kind of question.
I don't remember seeing one come
I would
across.
guess there's one here somewhere, or else we wouldn't be able to pay the invoices.
I don't know that answer.
Well, there's a multitude of paper in that little closet.
Yes, there is. So I will see if he got it. I don't remember. I don't remember any bills from any of our lawyers when David was here for the contract written on that. So let me dig into that and see what I can find.
I'm just thinking like you could go back, you may be able to go back to agendas.
Yep.
For the select board to see.
I remember I found the RFQ in the agendas.
Yeah, but there must be an approval, or would David have done that?
Yeah, and a lot of architects have their own standard contracts they use.
Yeah, so we may have
Each
used
one
his.
AIA,
Yeah.
and see maybe he has it.
Yep,
Just
yep.
ask.
Yep, I will.
I'm looking at Phil for a minute here. David, would David have just done that contract independently without us needing to approve?
You know, I remember the materials about the firm, which would have been the
RFQ.
RFQ, but I can't remember the contract.
So maybe David executed it.
It's possible they don't just like-
Right, because the board approved the RFQ, so
No, that's not how it works.
I didn't say
Yeah,
that.
Yeah,
Yeah, I don't have a recall. of it. But we should be able to, since it's fairly recent, when we launched this. We should
Right,
be able to
yes.
Look at various minutes to see
Yep.
what.
Yep, I will go back
It
and
just may save you time just to directly ask him
Yeah.
instead of.
I'll send an email
going
first
through
thing in the
it,
morning. Yep.
Just-
Actually, I'll give him a call
just, you know,
because
say,
I,
hey,
Just tell them you can't pay them without a contract.
Actually.
And get it pretty quick.
right,
After we
yeah.
got the cleaning,
Because I get the check here because they came back with the wrong address, so
we're gonna send Cheyenne.
there we go.
Okay, moving on to the municipal management services, AKA our search firm.
Yes, so Mr. General is asking me that he's going to send the board an email tomorrow or Wednesday because he's out of town on personal business. He wanted to send, because I asked him for an update, and he preferred to update the board through an email Tuesday or Wednesday.
I did field a phone call from him the end of last week. So maybe the week before. And he asked if we could extend this search ad to run in the New York State professional organization. He didn't do it at first because he felt the state statutes in New York were very different than Vermont. But I said, go ahead and do it, just for Richmond. Okay.
That's it. Yeah.
That's it. Okay. I'll be anxious to see that email.
So that email he sends us will include resumes as well?
I don't know that answer. I asked him for an update. Jim asked me that.
The ad went out with resumes due by the 14th. And I think his most recent email said he only had 7 resumes, so
Okay.
I'm not sure there's gonna be a big volume.
No, I didn't expect
It's
it.
another week.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, right. But wanted an update, so he's going to give an update.
Okay, moving on to new business, we are skipping the Four Corners.
Yep. Yep.
Good. We've already done the HB engineering. Stacy, if you were on for the reappraisal letter. And I guess 911.
Yes.
Okay. Yes, so we did receive the order to reappraise from the state. No surprise, pretty much kind of told you guys, at least for probably over a year now, it was coming. Even though they passed H 480, and anybody who so that passed and went into effect, and one of the big pieces out of it was to eliminate using the CLA as
Stacy,
common level appraisal, yeah.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Okay, so legislation passed a bill based on reappraisal this year. So common level, prior to this, to do a reappraisal in town, you either needed to want to do one, or you had to be ordered by the state because your common level of appraisal, CLA, was either under 85% or over 115%, or your coefficient of dispersion, COD, was over 20%.
And we had the latter.
We have both of them, but yes, our COD is at 23 point something percent. Oh, no, sorry, 24.38%, which is kind of more concerning really than having a CLA that's out of line, because the CLA is then adjusted to compensate and capture that lost fair market value by increasing the tax rate. That's what the CLA does. But what the coefficient of dispersion is about fairness and equity among property values. So the International Assessing the IAAO standards are to have your COD less than 20%. Once you get over that, what that means is you're starting to move more than 20% away from the median mean value. So you start having property owners paying less than their fair share of taxes and others paying more than their fair share of taxes. So that's why that piece was kept.
Is that due to value?
It is, in this case, yes. It's pretty rare to be below 10%. Usually you kind of hover around 10 to 15% to kind of be in a good range. You start creeping up over 15%, you know, you're starting to kind of get skewed out of range. You're starting to get some, you know, inequity between property owners. And it is basically, in this case, it can happen because of a lot of things. If your assessment, your base assessment isn't solid, you can see that coefficient of dispersion when sales start, you know, properties start selling. But in this case, it has a little bit to do with it, but it has really more to do with the fact that, yeah, the market just. You know.
But isn't our market just out of whack?
No, the market is what the market is. The market is just, this is just the market due to world market, you know, all the pressures worldwide, as well as COVID. So yes, a lot of people like to say, well, it's because of COVID. Well, the bottom line is the market is whatever it is. And so the pressures that are there, that's what it is. So
prior to COVID, was our COD under 20%?
Oh, yes. Otherwise, we would have been triggered for reappraisal before now. Yes. I think it was in around somewhere between 11 or 12% when we did our reappraisal in that 2019. Then I think it bumped up to around 13% and hovered there for a couple of years. I don't remember what it was last year, but it was hover. I think it was right on the edge of it was 18 or 19%. As soon as the market had started taking off. And it was easy to see because some of the very low end properties are coming in fairly close, you know, within about 20% of what their assessed value is. Mid-range properties, you're seeing about 30, 40, 50% that they're selling for more than their assessed value. High-end properties, and I'm talking anything that we had assessed at over $600,000, we're seeing 150, 200%, 250%. They're selling for more than what the assessed value was.
So we don't have like sales.
We don't right now because we don't have much for sale. But a lot of our high-end properties have moved and turned over a lot in the last 3 years. We didn't have those kinds of sales prior to the number of higher end properties prior to the 2019 reappraisal. But we had a lot of sales in 2019, 2020, we were valid sales. I would say we were probably around 60 or 70 of them. You know, yeah, this year, not a whole lot. When I say this year, I mean for the 2023 grand list year. And based on what we saw, we just closed out the grand list year. It doesn't look good for our CLA. I would expect it to continue its downward decline as much as possibly what we're at 81.26%. I'd like to be wrong in my ratio study in-house, but I saw a number that puts us at just under 69% for the sales ratio. So brace yourself.
Yeah, I was quite startled when over breakfast on Saturday morning, Kate said to me, "Oh, look at this. There was an ad in the New York Times for a property on Clay Hill Road with an awful lot of zeros in front of the decimal point."
Yep.
So I was, whoa.
Yes.
I got our tax bill and I went on Zillow. My wife said, "Oh, what's it?" Whoa.
Yeah.
I feel kind of better. So what do we do?
Yeah.
So basically what we need from you guys is I think it requests that the chair of the board of listers or whomever you choose to designate from your governing board, sign did you include the page
Yes.
for them?
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Sign that page. Essentially what this states is just that we received this, and then it just has to be returned back to the state, that we received the response for reappraisal. And then myself and my other two listers begin the process of, we have 150 days, which I think takes us to December 20th to come up with a detailed compliance plan that we submit to the state.
What does that mean? Yeah, I read that. What does that
Yeah,
mean?
so we have
Didn't
to,
you do that last year? Because we got the
No.
notice last year.
no, we did not get the orders last year. We skated just under by the skin of our teeth last year. We were okay last year. Basically, there's this multi-page form that we have to come up with and follow through. We have to fill it out. We have to begin putting together an RFP. We have to put a proposal, come up with how we're gonna do reappraisal, townwide reappraisal.
But we're actually hiring a firm to do it like we did in the past?
Yes, we have to. We can't do it in-house. It's required that we hire somebody. It has to be someone on a list of approved appraisers, approved by the state.
And this will start when and end when, and how much will it cost?
Those are all excellent questions, and I don't really know those details yet. I will say that roughly we're hearing it's about $100 per parcel, which is definitely an increase over what we did 4 years ago, fairly significant increase, I believe. That seems to be what I'm
Going
hearing
rate.
from everybody, going rate, $100 per parcel. So, we have just under 1,600 parcels, 1,500 some odd parcels. So, we're looking in the range of $160,000 to do a reappraisal. I believe we have, is it 114,000 on our reappraisal sweep account right now?
Oh, well,
So we have a significant chunk in there. Not that we get.
Where's some money come from?
That money comes from, we get paid a per parcel fee in a couple of different places from the state. One is because of the current use maintenance and work we do. I forget exactly what that comes from. We get $1 per parcel for active parcels. And then we just get paid a flat fee of $8. I think it's just $8 or
It's just
$8.50. I
$8,
can't
yeah.
remember. $8 per parcel for all of our parcels, active or non-active, that we get paid to from the state. I mean, ultimately, we all know where that money really comes from. It comes out of our pockets initially, but
so this normally takes years to do. Is there an interim measure that you're gonna have to do as your CLA and your COD keep going down? Because it could be 3-4 years before we have a new appraisal.
well,
So what
and
happens during that interim?
right, and so what I have heard also is that right now, most of the reappraisal firms are booked out to 2027 right now. So I would be surprised if we were able to start any sooner than 2 or 3 years. So, yeah, we'll, hopefully holding that, like to just see the market kind of taper off and hold where we are. What happens in the meantime is the CLA, the common level of appraisal, does its job. We maintain our same land schedule, our same cost tables, none of that gets adjusted. We still continue to go out and, do our inspections and yearly adjustments to the grand list.
So we're
And
doing this based on 2022.
2019,
Well, the letter says 2022, the 2022 study was the one that put us under the limit.
so it's 3 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it was when we dropped, so we did, this was 2022, 2021, and 2020. So when we dropped 2019, which we had a CLA of like 100.6 and a COD of around 12%. Once that one got dropped off, 2020 wasn't too bad. That was so-so, although we
So they gave it
certainly,
a 3 year.
it's 3 years, yeah. They go back 3 years. So
By the
it,
time we do it, we'll be 5 years.
so generally, yeah, you're looking at, ideally, you want to do a reappraisal about every 5 to 7 years. That's industry best practices and standards.
And we had been talking about doing another reappraisal in 24, 25 anyways.
Right, or 26.
But
I
Or 26.
suppose.
Yeah.
Backed up because of-
But now that, yeah,
Because there's a waiting list, yes, and I will say that they put out some 98. I did see the letter from Christie. Where did I shuffle that in my paperwork here? So last year they sent out 42 reappraisal orders. This year they sent out 98.
Wow.
And
Almost
68
half
of
the
those,
state is
right,
being ordered.
68 of those were new, so.
Yeah.
um,
yeah, that's the state. It's about right.
And what this bill that they passed also does, though, is starting in 2026, PVR, we don't know yet who's gonna be doing the appraisal, that's gonna stay at the town level or go to the state handling it, that's yet to be determined. But the piece that, one of the other pieces that has been determined is that all of us, all municipalities will be on a 6-year schedule, starting in 2026, based on when your last townwide reappraisal is. So you'll be absolutely scheduled out, it'll be known that you will have to do in the 6-year queue where you are and where your place is. And if your COD goes out of whack in between those 6-year reappraisals, you'll have to do a reappraisal. If you can do a statistical reappraisal, then you can do that. Statistical reappraisals, if you're close to your last townwide reappraisal, it's an option. It's a little bit less, it's not considered a great option for towns that don't have zoning, however. And I've talked with many people in the assessing field that when you don't have zoning, and I'm not saying that to make the argument, but simply to state why I'm not sort of pursuing doing a statistical reappraisal, because we could probably get that done quicker. But you don't have those, yeah,
It
you
makes
don't,
sense,
yeah.
If you're not out there.
not
Checking on
tracking it
zoning
as
trends.
well, right,
Yes.
right. So there's a lot that can be different.
So I think we performed the action.
Yep.
I make a motion, we have the chair signing, what's the letter?
So,
And obviously, I'll be keeping you guys posted and letting you guys know what's going on, obviously communicating with Martin, and when we get ready to move to the next step, we're coming back to you guys and letting you know what
We
we're
already
doing.
did it.
Yeah.
Okay, so now 911.
Yeah. So, without, obviously 911, the E911 address coordinator position was supposed to fall with the ordinance administrator. Obviously, we don't have an ordinance administrator. My understanding is that there's some conversation with another local municipality about possibly doing a job sharing to help bring somebody in who might be better qualified and might hang in that position a little bit longer. I don't know for sure. But in the meantime, the assistant 911 address coordinator was appointed to the chair of the board of listers, as opposed to designated to a specific person, more the seat. So if the person changes in the seat, you have some continuity. If there's going to be job sharing with the ordinance administrator, I guess my feeling is to have some continuity with this. We've turned over about 3 different times to just kind of bring it to the listers, have it sit with the chair of board of listers, and have that be the person who's responsible with it, for the foreseeable future for now, just to kind of have some stability and continuity with there. It's tough turning around and retraining somebody every so often, getting started, stopping, getting back in touch with the state, telling them, no, now it's somebody else new, now it's someone else new.
So,
Yeah,
easy question.
yeah.
So when I got my 911 address, I got it from here.
Yep.
Is it traditionally a lister activity or a clerk activity?
It varies widely around the state. So clerks hold the position, listers hold the position, zoning administrators hold the position. There might even be town managers that hold
My mom had it before I got it.
Yep.
He didn't take a cut and pay, and I didn't get a raise in pay.
And I doubt the same will happen here, but, so, very
So, so
wide.
set.
There
Yeah,
is no
it's
set,
no.
no. It makes sense.
Nobody wants to do it.
I make a motion, we give it to Stacy.
Yeah, and it makes sense logically to have it in the lister's office, because if some structure's being built, we're gonna be out there visiting it and figuring out what it is, and anyways, we need to put a number and an address on it for the grand list, so,
Well, if they're doing a curb cut, you gotta get that begin.
Yes,
right,
yep.
so.
Yep.
Exactly.
So I'm not suggesting that we do this, but I know other towns are changing the length of the segments now. They're actually changing their numbering system.
Oh, welcome.
Yes, that's another conversation, but yes,
Yeah.
so
Oh,
Yeah,
there is.
don't open that box.
no, I don't want to go down there, but is that a mandate?
That's what I had in mind as Stacy's started this conversation. This is not just a new property in town. This is,
No.
we need
Yes,
to redo all our 911.
Yes, it does need to be
we
revamped.
gotta go to 4 digits.
We have multiple, we've tripped across in inspections, misnumberings. We know there are multiple shared driveways. I've got a new list going after the spring inspections of shared driveways that have more than one living unit on them. And when that happens, private driveways, it needs to be turned into a road, and they need to have new 911 addresses. And it has to meet the current state standards. It has to be, the 5.28 feet versus
Right,
50,
right.
or 52.8 feet. that we
So
can-
let me play devil's advocate here.
Yep,
When you were putting on your reappraisal hat just a few minutes ago, we were all saying this is going to be a lot of work if we do a townwide reappraisal. We know we need a townwide redo of the 911.
mhm.
I'm not sure I like that. Where does your time come from? I don't know. I'm trying to, I think the decision today would be a good interim
Right.
solution.
Yeah,
But I don't know if it's.
Yes.
And I
a
would,
long-term, no, I don't know that it necessarily would be.
Yeah, and theoretically,
I will say 911 readdressing is gonna cause a huge amount of work in the lister's office anyways, and we're aware of that.
Plateau.
It'd be lovely to have somebody doing a whole townwide readdressing while we're doing the reappraisal, so we can roll out all new addresses, but I would not wanna have to be the person doing all at the same time.
right.
What I will say is what we've also run into, which I think was part of the frustration with our previous ordinance administrator, was that as much as, even if we were anxious to get the ball really rolling on changing and redoing the town of the 911 addresses, there's currently one person at the state handling it, and it is very difficult to get any kind of communication, and very difficult to get even just one or two address changes, or a private driveway turned into a road. It is a real bottleneck, and we're really, a lot of our block and backlog right now has to do with the fact that we can't move any faster than what he can do for us, which is really, we're really hamstrung at the state level. So for now, I don't foresee that changing rapidly over the next couple of years. This is sort of sustainable, because even if you brought somebody in, we've been told already that they don't have the capacity for at least a year or more to be able to, if we wanted to do, let's just all in and do a townwide readdressing. They don't have the ability to do it.
Martin, has this been talked about at your monthly meeting?
No, Stacy and I discussed it last week.
Yeah.
With the ordinance officer leaving. She understands the process. She's used the process. She's done it. I think for the interim, I think it's a great idea. As she said, the state is not very friendly. The state, John couldn't get anywhere with them. They were supposed to have him a report, and I don't think it's still done, is
hasn't
it?
come through.
So this is a report that John was supposed to get in February, March, and the state still doesn't have it done. So I think for an interim position, I think Stacy's the right call. As soon as we can get an ordinance officer in that they can put their arms around it. But yeah, I think for interim, I think it's a good way to go. I think long-term, she can't do both, obviously.
Thoughts?
Not without upping the hours,
Well,
one of my other listers.
No, yeah, exactly.
There's
Yeah.
money in the budget to cover
Right.
extra hours.
Right, but right now, we don't need to go there.
Right.
You're looking at me?
No, you're looking at me.
Well, Bob isn't here, so
Okay, do we actually need an action here or?
I think you should make a motion
Motion to what?
for Stacy to be the 911 coordinator at this time. In the
Yeah,
lister's
but now we
office.
have something to hand off to the state.
Yeah, I make a motion that states that the chair of the listers be our,
Why don't we say just listers?
Mr.
the
Office.
listers, all right, I'll make a motion
Okay.
that the lister's office be responsible for the 911 addressing.
I'll second that.
All in favor, say aye. Motion passes.
No, believe me, to bring more work into our office is not my, but, you know.
Yeah.
We gotta do what we gotta do right now.
Thank you, Stacy.
You're welcome.
Appreciate your time tonight.
You didn't say a thing, so.
I keep looking at her.
She may be typing something different.
Dear Stacy.
No, I keep thinking about when her son's in first grade. We got a few years, we got about 2 or 3 years to go, yes.
The notes might say Phil's the new 911 coordinator. You never know.
Just move it to the highway department. Okay, Mr. Dole. you
Yes.
are on.
I'm on roads, number 1 and 6. I didn't realize I headed up there. Shoot Road is open. Shoot Road had more washouts Friday night. They went up and fixed it today. Reeves Road is passable now. The culvert is in. I don't know if VTEL ever got up to help us, but they got the culvert in without breaking the main line from VTEL. So Reeves Road is passable. I recommend very slow and easy up through there, but the culvert is in. Bill sent out an RFP today to 3 or 4 contractors for Best Road. Because we got to do it. We're now, if this does become a FEMA event, we have to have our
We're past
Tease.
that window.
we're past the emergency window. Yep. I pushed it a little further than we should have, but yes, we're past it. But we have all the documentation. Bill and I had a meeting last Friday. We went over it again. He realized what he needed and he's working on that so we can try and address it again. We have all kinds of pictures. We just have to get time to sit down and print the picture and put it with the road with the what we bought from the pit. So the roads, as best as possible, are coming together. Obviously, we gotta get them up to speed because we got about 90 days before snow flies. Unfortunately, we gotta think about that. So it's gonna stop raining to keep the roads together so we can grade the roads. So,
Sorry, I don't want.
no, please.
Like some of these roads
Mhm.
now require new culverts
Yes,
because there's new sources of water.
That's correct.
So
so
that's all part of the plan.
so the state of Vermont sent a young lady down Thursday before last. We went and visited Best Road and Reeves, and she measured it. The state has done their hydrological study on both those culverts. They have the recommendation what we can put in for a culvert.
But you're talking ones that are completely washed out?
Yes, yep.
I'm talking more about the smaller ones.
So like Densmore, and Jennyville, the brook there, the culvert didn't fail, it went over the culvert.
You're talking about Densmore Brook.
Densmore Brook, yes. So we can't just,
But if you go down Jennyville Road, for example,
yes,
yeah, or even on Best Road, you have new channels of water that
Yep.
carved into the edges of the road.
so we had a,
Now we need culverts where there weren't culverts before.
grants and aids project. We had the grants and aids project on Jennyville, and we were gonna replace 3 culverts. And obviously, they failed. So we're hoping to put more culverts in there. We're afraid of closing Jennyville because with Best Road closed, it's kind of hard to maneuver around there. But I think one day we're going to close Jennyville and throw a culvert in by Steve Allen's, because that one's failed twice now.
That's an existing field. culvert.
Yeah, yep. So we're going to put a bigger
You're
one.
gonna upgrade?
We are.
Failed culvert up
So
beyond Jennyville there that it's sticking up out of the ground like a cat's tail.
Yes, yeah,
So there's some, right, so there's some that have failed, need to be replaced.
yes,
Got it. You know, small ones, big ones.
Right. Yep.
Old stone ones. But with the change in the way streams flowing and the water is coming down hills, there are now spots that might need new culverts that never had a culvert to begin with.
okay.
So is that something on your?
It's not on my, I don't know if that's on his radar, but I will,
In Best Road and Jago Road might be good examples, right, where the water is now flowing differently.
As a follow-up to what Jim is asking, a number of years ago, Two Rivers did a study of our roads, marking, kind of designating the roads to what state they were in. And that also led to the hydraulically connected brooks and ditching and culverts, and that reflected the state law that's governing roads on that part. So it's really a two-part question. That's triggering what Jim was asking is, could you keep your ears open and next time you're talking to Peter Gregory or you're back in the shop, what is there going to be an update to those statutes, which were fairly specific, and then specifically to this point, would our regional planning commission be engaged in assessing the resilience of our roads now that we have these incredible storms?
So one of the first things you're gonna need to do is all the towns have codes and standards.
yes, and we're matching the state.
Right,
We-
and so you may want
I
to
have what?
codes and standards. So
Codes and standards.
So is how big a culvert is, width of roads, et cetera, et cetera. And what we may need to do is look at those codes and standards
Sure.
and
Well,
upgrade something.
we-
The other thing too is,
we use the state standard.
well, can we actually upgrade them?
Well,
And not use the
that's my
state and
question.
say,
It's right down to the size of the
So-
stone and ditches.
So if you choose to go different than the state, I'm under impression, and I may not be right, that FEMA goes by the state,
yes.
right? They go by the state. So if we choose to do a bigger culvert and it fails, FEMA may
But
not
that
stand behind
meeting
it.
that we were at in Springfield, they said you also can go by your codes and standards.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah.
Right.
So,
But our roads committee report
yeah.
basically cited the state standards.
Yes,
I think I'm shocked at how hard this storm has hit.
Oh, you and me
Just last weekend, I was saying to Jim today when we talked, Draper Road has had a lot of work. And in that resilience study that V-Trans gave to you, a half mile of the 1 mile stretch is high because of the access. It's a real well-used road. The water was running down the middle of the road today.
Down Draper?
It has not happened. The storms have hit us so much that what's coming out of the ditches, these were just sides of the road ditches. They were not official ditches.
right.
Is now coming up on the roads, causing a different
With the water table,
water.
the water table is so
I
high.
mean,
Yeah, so we have a lot of work ahead of us.
Yeah, we do.
I cringe when I meet a car right now because the side of the road, I don't quite know how strong.
How strong it is, yeah. Yeah, I agree with you. Yeah, dirt roads are very hard to manage.
So
I think
your point is
the volume of rain changed what we thought was true, right, about where culverts were needed and where ditches were needed.
Mhm.
yeah.
Well, I did notice after last weekend that some of the ditching they did on Jennyville a year ago, the bank is now in the ditch.
I saw that. I saw that the other day. I went up there.
Yeah, and that's what I'm saying, Clark.
Yeah.
Either where we did the ditching, the ditches have much more silt in it, and I was looking today as I came to an intersection, and the silt is almost up to where the culvert is. Oh, a little bit more, and the culvert's walk. And then we have the roads that just have snouts on them or whatever, and that goes in a real bad shape. Anyway, I guess my other real question is, how's the road crew holding up?
They're holding up okay. Friday, they had enough at 2:30 and I told Bill, send them home. They go out every morning, they check the roads before they start. They each take a different truck and drive the roads, and they go up Best, they go up Jennyville, they go up Jenny, they drive around, they go up Weed Road.
What
They-
is six?
Yep,
Usually that's much
Yep,
more.
they try to, they are going out diligently every day to see what happened overnight from the rain and fixing the immediate issue so that cars can get through.
Good.
So they're staying on top of it.
Which sounds like a lot of work. So how do you get from the point of just kind of fixing what's been broken recently to actually?
It's gonna stop
doing
raining.
it permanent?
It's gonna stop raining. It's just gonna
It's
stop
probably not
raining.
happening this year much.
Yeah, it's just
They're
gonna
have
stop
to
raining.
haul Sand soon.
Because you can't grade in the rain. You put the rocks down and it washes away with 3 inches of rain. It just has to stop raining.
Yeah.
And the Champlain Lake is up 3 feet. Sure.
Do we have, like, does this small road crew have enough capacity to, say it did stop raining? to
Yep.
Really repair all the damage before the snow hits?
Probably not repair it 100%, but probably get it enough to go through the winter without too many issues. I believe they can do that. Absolutely.
So if we need material on some of these roads that were not wiped out.
Right.
First storm.
Yep.
Might that material be covered under FEMA?
It will. So we have,
Mitigation?
so when the first guy comes in and sits with us, we have 60 days to get as much as, so my goal is to try and do the same process we did in 2019. Reeves Road and Best Road will be one event, and the rest of the roads will be the other event. So we focus on the other roads, we get the culverts in the Best and Reeves, get them opened up. We focus on the other roads and get them fixed and get that part of the FEMA closed. We then have 3 years for FEMA to do the other 2 roads. So that gives us some breathing space. We put together RFPs, we get the proper culverts in, or we stick with the culvert we have, we just put it properly in there, and we have up to 3 years to take care of that. We did that with Mace Hill. We had 3 other roads that were FEMA events and the Mace Hill culvert, box culvert. So the box culvert we did the following year, but the other roads, we got our money back through the FEMA, through the first event.
And go back to what we talked about earlier. It's what is the calendar for the event? Right, so each event has a DR number, disaster recovery. So right now it goes to July 17th. But if they're going to extend it to August 15th, for instance, all the work the town is doing is storm removal.
Yep. And Bill and I will put together each road. They will have the material, they will have the trucks, they will have the man hours. If the backhoe was on there, the backhoe gets paid for its hours. So we get 75%. The state will kick in some, so it'll probably cost the town about 10% of it.
You can get more if you have any PG and all that.
Yeah.
So what's the state recommending for Best Road for the culvert?
I don't remember. It was bigger. They agreed to go bigger. I was surprised. I don't.
Uneducated, yes, is a 4x6 box or a 6'2".
Right. Yes.
6 feet.
So what's going on with Brownsville?
So the Brownsville Road is a different beast altogether. Bill isn't quite sure. Checked with Rita last week before she went on vacation of what to do, to get maybe some stone down in there, some riprap, enough to seal it, and then get an engineer and figure out the right way.
There's a cave to one side.
That's up by the town line.
Yes. Yep. It's on the town line going up.
Send somebody up at night in the town line side.
Yes,
Turn it
please
down.
bring it down. Yes, please. We were saying the same thing, 200 feet, all we need. So he's now focused on that, and he's been focused on it, but he's been asking how to get it shored up enough to get us through the time. So he is definitely working on that.
Yeah, I came across Route 4 from White River Junction one day this weekend and came around the bend, and there's a temporary traffic light east of the VIII cutoff, and when you look, the guardrail on the side of the road is just.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah, we came across that ourselves. Yeah.
sorry to be
No,
remedial,
no.
but just on the timing, right?
Mhm.
Is there some type of a calendar where we're getting, like, we're only gonna get paid for the work we're doing for the next 60 days? Or-
So the calendar starts when the FEMA manager comes in here and sits down and says, what went wrong? What are we going to do? So I will explain to him everything that needs to get done. That's when the clock starts.
And how long does the clock run?
60 days.
So if we have scarce resources, is that the time to bring in contractors and get as much done as we can?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep. And we have to send out 3 RFPs per, so say Reeves Road, we want to fix, we have to send out 3 RFPs. And they do not do time and material. 3 bids. No, you have to have 3 bids. They do not do time and material.
If nobody bids on it except for one person, what happens?
Then we
Then
go,
you're fine.
then we're okay. Yep.
Martin, I hate to rail you.
No.
We were talking about, our responsibility is select board in the town and the work that you and the highway crew have been doing. But at the last meeting we brought up the citizens that were affected.
Yes.
And Tom, you thought you were gonna kind of check a few things because people were calling 211 and they were saying they weren't covered.
It's still the same process because the event only went to July 17th. It doesn't go past July 17th.
But they did say that they still should call.
Yes.
And so if you saw last week in the paper, 211 broke last week or a week before.
2 weeks
Because it
before.
was overwhelmed with calls. I guess now it's back online.
Yeah.
But even if you're not within the time period of the declaration, still call, because what's important is they will include an additional days if you get to a certain amount of damage.
Yeah. And I'm directing everybody. I have an 800 number for FEMA and I'm directing everybody to call the 800 number and report it and call 211. Anybody that calls.
Do you think we might ask you to just put an update out saying, here's the scope of the work that we're engaged with at the town level and call this number if you have personal water damage.
Absolutely.
Listserv or website?
I'm not sure.
You can do both.
Yeah, I can put it on both.
I had somebody stop me last week when I was trying to get home and say, well, we're gonna take care of our own problems. I said, well, you ought to call them because your damage, even if you end up taking care of it, will raise the level for everybody.
That's right. Exactly.
But I do know that Jennyville is not Prius ready.
No, it's not Prius ready. I agree 100%. Neither is Reeves. I wouldn't take a Prius up Reeves either.
Nicky Buck talks about moving to town and they came from Maryland or someplace and one of the family cars was a Prius. She said that halfway through mud season, they were shopping for a different car.
Well, that goes back a year or two. The town select board guy in Thetford said he took his wife's car out in mud season, had the clearance of a sandwich, and it went through, it wasn't mud.
Sorry.
No, that's fine. Any more questions on the roads?
No, it seems like
Thank you,
a lot-
Mark.
lot on your
Welcome.
plate, Mark.
Nice job.
No, thank you. Tax bills were printed and mailed. I want to thank the listers. They were a huge help in getting the time frame. They got me 10 days that we needed to do the tax bills. And I also want to thank the staff. I went to the meeting last Tuesday and the staff actually had them all folded in a couple hours. I was gone. It was amazing. So I just wanted to thank the staff for that. I was called by Sarah probably a month ago. Phil and I went over this and it's come back to my attention. So Phil and I went and looked at Jean Day's property by the fire department on Route 12. Sarah called up, said she'd be willing to sell the town 2.2 acres. It's a 6.2 acre lot. So if you stand next to the firehouse and you look on the property, there's a tree in the middle of the field. That's about the 2.2 acre line, just past it a little bit. So Phil and I looked at it, thought it'd be a great way to do something. So I came back, I spoke with Stacy. It's in the floodplain. I don't think the prudence of the town purchasing that property in a floodplain helps anybody. It wouldn't look good to build in the floodplain. If it does flood, we lose a building that we built. So I talked to Phil, and he said, go ahead. And I told Sarah that the town would not be purchasing that 2.2 acres because it is in the flood zone. If it wasn't in the flood zone, it would be a great addition to the town. Absolutely. I wish we could afford the whole property.
But if the price was right, the only reason you would purchase any of that land is for a septic system for the fire department.
So to the septic system, on that piece of property, you'd have to be up next to the road.
Yeah.
In about 50 feet at the most, and that's the only square that would fit.
So it'd have to be kind of a,
Yeah, exactly, yeah.
piece of property.
Yeah. So it just,
So that's not.
no. So it just would not work for what the town would need.
And I also think we are not in a financial position right now, given the intersection project
Yeah.
And the washouts.
the washouts, all these costs, I just think we need to be prudent here right now.
Yep, I agree.
We did ask to explore if there was some way of creating a taxable deduction, with a partial gift to the town and some cash paid, but we decided.
Yeah, we didn't even go down that route, so. All right, Three Corners project is moving along very quickly. It's moving along very well. It's a fairly simple project. Lay some plastic pipe, dig some ditches, and put down some cement.
Listen to this guy.
Put down some cement boxes. So we have 8, 9, 10 change orders at this point. The first change order, the sidewalk along Route 12 next to Mascoma Bank. The engineers said 8 inches of fill. Talking to the GPI engineer, we run a tractor over that sidewalk to plow it. So it will move up and down. So he said it should be 12 inches thick of material underneath that sidewalk to keep it steady for the life of the sidewalk. So we went to 12 inches. We're talking about $1,000. When you enter the Dunn's parking lot, the new parking lot where the statue used to be, it was nothing but, all it was dirt underneath the statue. Nice, solid, soft topsoil. They recommended 12 inches depth there, where there was 18 in the parking lot, but the entrance going in, we're going to be using a bucket loader to go in and out of there. Afraid it's going to sink. So we raised that.
You're talking about the sidewalk itself?
Nope, the parking. So when you drive into the parking lot, that's where the statue was. That was all topsoil. So there's no solid. So instead of 8 inches, we went to 12 inches.
So you have 2 cases now where the spec called for 8.
Yes. But with the frost
The
and
designer called for 8, but the engineer, construction engineer.
I asked the exact same question.
So 2 instances where they were off by 4 inches.
Yeah, they said, but that's minimum. They said minimum's okay. But when you have frosties and equipment, if we didn't have equipment going on the sidewalk,
No, I hear you.
I'd agree 100%. So I was too.
It seems like there's gonna be a big list that comes up now, in addition to street lights. And
Yeah,
Right.
I wish I had written it today. I was being-
The retaining wall on Route 5 went very smooth. Oh, I'm sorry,
What was the price tag on the last one?
about 1,000.
And so 2,000.
2,000, yep.
Gotcha.
The retaining wall on Route 5 went very well. They were able to put it back together as it came apart. So we'll probably end up with a couple $1,000 credit there. So that'll wash the two. This is where we have an issue. So at the utility meeting, Rita said that there was going to be 3 pedestals put out and the utilities were going to share it. Comcast spoke up and says, nope, I'm going to do my own pedestal. So the rest of them followed, said they would supply the pedestal. That was their words. They would supply the pedestal. So they told me the pedestals were going to be $25,000. And I looked at Rita, I said, no. At the meeting, they said they were going to supply it. So to me, saying you're supplying it is, we're not supposed to pay for it. So that right now is in the bone of a contention of who's going to pay for that. So
So is that 25?
25,000 for all of them, 25,000 for them all. So at this point,
And they're saying they're supplying their own pedestals.
that's what they
but
said at the
you're-
meeting.
But you're not, but they're the,
Now they're saying that we have to pay for them.
no, they're gonna supply their
Yes.
own, but you're gonna pay for it.
Yes, but they didn't, it wasn't brought across that way because they didn't want to share the pedestals.
So this is.
What was in the RFP as far as that, were those pedestals included?
I don't know that answer.
Well, this is that sticky wicket where the RFP for the utilities was different than the RFP. I'm
Mhm.
not sure, I'm wrong on that. Let me hold off on that.
For the design, did VHB do the design for the pedestals?
I would have to assume so because they had the electric box, the big electric cement box that's out there.
So it was a shared.
Yep, yep, yep. I believe all the wires come in there and go out of there. So I will look at the RFP and see if that was part of it. Down by the library entrance, they eliminated the first drain that was going to be on the side of the driveway by Mike's parking lot. They increased the one on the town side of the library a little bit. So that's about $1,000. No, that was about the same price to do the extension and the elimination.
So why is that a change order?
Because they were supposed to have a drain on the far side of the library, the entrance of the library, but they did not do that drain. They were able to do it on this side.
So the V-Trans has to approve it.
Yeah. Eliminate sump pump in drain 1. There'll be a little bit of a credit there, probably not enough to say so. The pavement has to be taken up. There's cement under it, as we know. It's about 20, they're estimating that to be about $25,000. We'll see how that's going to end up. Change order to run the conduit for the streetlights. I haven't been given a price yet of roughly what that would be. The state was kind enough to let us do that change without getting a new permit or having to dig it up. Derek was a huge push on that, so that was huge. The sidewalk in front of the hair salon, they dug up today to get it ready for the cement sidewalk. They dug down to do the 8 inches of material, but there's still roots. There's still pieces of tree roots and material. So they had to go deeper. So that's going to go to 12 inches also. It only makes sense because we don't want roots messing up with the sidewalks. It's about 15 yards. Everett's thinking it's going to be about $1,500. So with the change orders where we're at, if you take out the cement, we're pretty much at break even and not knowing the electric boxes.
What you said, you take out the cement. And the
Take out the cement and the pedal. So we're
With
pretty
cement
much
and pedestals above
$50,000. Yes.
We don't know the cost of the lights.
Right. That's going to be a separate project, but the change orders on the project that we're doing now, we're pretty much break even without knowing about the pedestals and the cement,
So ideally, we'd want 50K from VHB.
plus fixing the lights, plus the lights.
The lights are slippery slope.
Yeah.
I mentioned earlier that, and it's not on your list, that we're a minor expenses we're taking up more of the main entrance sidewalk and the side entrance sidewalk to replace the broken concrete.
Right.
So I don't know quite,
Yeah, that won't be more than $1,000
There was
either.
some nominal number. that was
Yes,
thrown
yeah.
out by Everett.
Yeah, it was. So yes, we have a lot of change orders. I am keeping track of it and we're pretty much on the break even on the change orders, except for those 2 sticky points.
How are we doing with paying knots? There seemed to have been a delay because.
There was at the beginning, yep, but we are caught up now to date. We've cut them 3 checks. There's been 3 work orders come through. The work orders are checked by GPI to make sure they've used the proper material that's accepted by this V-Trans. They're making sure the hours they have to have certified hours. They're making sure the hours are certified by knots. They're making sure the flaggers are certified as they're supposed to be for classes and what have you. And Everett measures the material that they're billing on each bill to make sure that the amount of material we're getting billed is correct. So There's double checks being done on the billing.
So what's the new finish line? Do you know what they're thinking?
They keep throwing around September 1st, but I'm gonna say September 15th to be safe.
What's like contract penalty? Kicking?
I think it's October 20th or October 25th. Yeah, yeah.
Martin, could you nudge Everett on two things? One, the library road is a real mess.
Oh, yeah, I noticed that the other day. All right, I'll have them.
I was there on Saturday morning and was just there. And second, I understand because of the storm, but the intersection was a real mess with all potholes and so on. And they have a ton of equipment and they could just stay on top of that.
Yep, they've been pretty good right along. They didn't today. They spent most of their time down by the library road. But yes, I will tomorrow see if we can get them to smooth things out a little bit. Absolutely. That's all I got.
Two questions, and I'm sure others may have questions. One is, you had mentioned to me when I asked about the roadside mowing, that
So our roadside mower blew the motor. John Deere has decided they're not going to stand behind it.
Oh,
United Agway, or United
Ag.
Yep, United Ag. His boss was on vacation last week. He's due back today. He's going to try and catch him today or tomorrow. They have special funds or something. He's going to go to his boss to see if they can cover the $25,000 engine and we take care of the labor.
Do you, I don't want to get geeky here, but do you know what failed?
I don't. I can find out.
Do you think it was under warranty?
Yeah. Well, it's because it has to do with the DEF fluid, which is emissions, which is a 5 or 10-year warranty on it.
Why is John Deere saying they want?
I don't know. He's been tearing it apart, giving them more pictures. The warranty process with these manufacturers is awful.
Yeah.
It's awful.
Yeah, and anything with the diesel emission fluid, the DEF fluid, I was saying to Martin, there's likely to be exhaust turbos that are trying to recirculate the air coming in. The DEF coming in with whatever that is to reignite the exhaust.
Right.
And there's a lot of soot involved. So if those turbos fail, it's going to include something else, but it's all emissions.
Yes, absolutely. It is. Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
The second question is staffing for the highway crew. Any luck there?
No, I've taken it off Indeed. I want to give it a couple of weeks to see if refresh it, see if it would catch more. Bill and I have been thinking out of the box. He talked to his son, who's got some friends that are 18, 19 years old, thinking outside the box. They don't have a CDL, obviously. We train them. We try and get a contract with them if they wanted to. It costs about $6,000 to get a CDL now. We asked for a 3-year contract from them. I've asked a couple of people outside the box that are in their mid-20s that might want to go this route. We've gotten nobody so far. So
what's our average pay for the highway?
about $25 an hour.
Yeah.
We're kind of in a box because we can't go much. Obviously, we can't pay somebody coming in more than what we're paying our highest man. I think is $26.50 or something like that. The state's paying the same truck driver $17 an hour.
Really?
Yeah, that's what I was told. So
What are surrounding towns like Woodstock, Hartford?
they're at the same pay scale.
The same as us?
Yep. I had Bill do a survey when I first started the interim because I wanted to get a feel of where we're at.
Hartford had one advertised, I thought it was around 26.
Yep. So they're all in the same. I had him call Bridgewater, West Windsor, Hartford, Reading, and we're all within sense of each other.
And then you need people that can run graders and excavators, right?
Yep.
Is that training that the folks we have already had?
Yeah, the state puts out classes for that. Roadside mowing, they have a class for that before they can do that.
Our guys have already had the opportunity to go through
Yes,
these classes.
yes, absolutely. Yep. The state does a lot of that. The CDL obviously is through the state DMV.
And, maybe a future discussion point for next budget season, we may want to look at. Yeah, the pay scale.
Speaking of budget season, I'm glad you brought that up. I sent out the budgets to all the departments. I'm early. I'm just trying to stay ahead of the curve so I can stay ahead of it come this fall for our budget discussion. So just so you know, I sent it out earlier than usual.
We probably need to do the July budget review in August.
Yep, whether it be at the next meeting. Yep.
Is there a new library director?
On August 14th, Tracy Joy is taking over as the library director. They offered her the job last Thursday.
Last week.
Yeah, yep. Yep, we got a new one. And the CPAs are back again this week for the final push of the audit of 2020, of fiscal year 2022. 23. Yes, 23. Thank you.
Martin and I have a meeting with Tracy and Dana. Could have Jacobson.
Good, yes.
Yeah. With Howard Falconer from Two Rivers to look at both the municipal energy resilience program grants and the ARPA monies. The library has a laundry list of projects so it's exciting to get a shift in the library and to build a collaboration between the select board
In the library, yep.
Any correspondence?
No correspondence.
Okay. Future agenda items, we obviously have a potential candidates for the planning commission. I know there's more than one. And the conservation commission, I think there's one new candidate.
One new candidate, yes. Mr. Sleeper has moved out of town.
Who has?
Sleeper?
Dave Sleeper.
Oh,
Okay. He was on the conservation commission for a couple of years.
so how many vacancies on the planning commission?
One.
One?
Okay. I'm not sure of the other things there, what we should tackle for the next time.
Actually, I'm also, the next one, I'm going to put an ordinance suggestion of underground cables in the village here, in the three corners intersection. Underground wires.
Okay.
I'll have the ordinance ready to put that in front of the board.
Forgot about that. Okay.
So it's an ordinance so that so say XYZ telephone company wants to come into town, they'd have to bury their wires under. They can't have a pole above. Bradford has the same setup. So it'll be 600 feet down Route 12, Route 5 and Queechee Road.
Yeah, stupid question.
Sure.
Can they pull wires through the existing conduit or would they have to pay?
I think it's big enough they can pull it through. They just would have to pay rent or whatever, how they put it together. They'll have to share it, which they don't like to share, but.
Clearly, everybody wants their own pedestal.
Okay. And obviously we'll have the correct children's center.
Yes, we'll have both of them. Yes, sorry about that.
Okay. Good. Okay, I entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Thank you, everyone.